there is nothing in this life, in this world, that is going to overcome you. And that's probably what the best thing is about being a Christian is knowing that truth.
Welcome to our next episode of A Life Explored. It's a rather special one this week because we're turning tables on the man who's been driving these podcasts. I've got Wes with me, and I've been very privileged to be asked to interview him. So let's get straight into it. Wes, you are officially Wesley Moscow Fitzpatrick. Now, many people who bear the name Wesley, which I'm told means a meadow, I believe.
From the West Meadow.
From the West Meadow.
That's as I understand it, yes.
Yep. Now, many people who bear the name would have probably may well have had some influence of Methodism, perhaps, or John Wesley might have been an influence in their parents' decision to give you that name. Is that the case with you?
No.
Not at all.
No, my mother, she said there was a TV program on in I think it was the 70s, 60s or 70s called Rich Man, Poor Man, something like that. Oh. And one of the characters was called Wesley, and there was the poor man. I gather it was to do with his character. Hopefully,
Yes.
I've never seen the show, so that was the reason.
Well, that's interesting. And the other part of the name, the Moskal Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Now I understand that's your name and Donna's name merged into one. Can you tell us about the two names and their origins?
Yes, Moskal-Fitzpatrick. So, I've had a number of surnames actually. So I come from, my family background there's been a couple of divorces and remarriage and everything, and then Fitzpatrick was my original name, my first name born with, and it changed a few times, and I decided to change it back because I didn't like the other surname I had at the time, which we shall not mention. So that is now. So that's kind of like it's an Irish surname by heritage, but I've never met my father, so I don't really have any connection there other than just to take his name.
Yeah.
And it's, I believe, the Fitz, any Irish name which is a Fitz in front of is sort of a, I want to say it's kind of like your lords and ladies or whatever. They have there's a coat of arms.
Yes.
And such. So Moskal is, of course, my wife's maiden name. So the story is, when we got married, she, we came to sign the register, and there you're supposed to put your new name on there. And she thought, I better put what should I put down? Should I put down my old surname or the new one? So she said, well, I'm going to put down a double barrel. So, because I've still got all my ID documents, my passport and everything.
Yeah.
And it didn't sort of really... So she went with a double barrel, Moskal Fitzpatrick, and she went with that for, since we got married, and I was just Fitzpatrick. And I think about 10 years ago, I decided, I'll just join her. I'll just change my surname to match.
Yeah.
Because it'll just be easier then. It's Mr. and Mrs. Moskal Fitzpatrick, not Fitzpatrick and Moskal Fitzpatrick, which is just confusing and a lot of words.
Yes.
So that was the reason for the change.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of, I'm a left-handed, so it makes it harder to sign.
Absolutely.
A signature.
Smudging the ink. So interestingly, Wes, sort of name Wesley after a poor man, but actually the Fitz would indicate that you've got some aristocratic pretensions there as well. So a good amalgamation of rich and poor.
Yeah. There's Yes, could be a lot there,
There could be, couldn't there? And where's growing up? I know you're a Warwickshire man. Tell me about where you were born and grew up.
So I was I grew up in Bedworth, which is not far from where we are now.
No.
I was born in Nuneaton, which is sort of the town. It's Bedworth and Nuneaton, you know. So there's George Eliot Hospital there.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I grew up in Bedworth, and attended school there. Lived in Collycroft, little place called Collycroft. The first part of my life, most of my life there, until about the age of 17. And then well, that was the point at which I had started attending a church. The point at which I actually became a Christian. And I then started to sort of, well, I was doing an apprenticeship course, and I was doing college, but then at the age of 19 I went to university, moved away from Bedworth, moved to, and I'd been at that point I'd been sort of doing a bit of renting with friends, renting bedrooms and things. So I started to I wanted to get out of home. That was my I just needed to get out of home, get away from home. So I couldn't get out there as sooner as much as possible.
And taking you back, Wes, just as a matter of clarity from somebody who's lived in Bedworth or Bedworth?
Yes. Yes, it's Bedworth. It's funny that, because there's, I would say, I used to have a bit of a, it's quite funny because I have a what you call a speech impediment, but I wasn't aware of it till later in life. Until my wife pointed it out to me.
What wives are good at doing that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I can't pronounce TH.
Yeah.
So I pronounce it as an F.
Yes.
That probably is linked to the area as much as anything. Yes. But Bedworth, yeah.
Yes. And Bedworth, unfortunately, I think gets quite a bad rep. I noticed that there is actually a YouTuber who does these things called turd towns, and unfortunately recently he was doing Warwickshire, and Bedworth and Nuneaton were vying for number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
A harsh criticism, would you think of your hometown?
It's funny that growing up, it's definitely a rough area. There's no lie about that. But there's some good people. It's not a mining town, and I would say it's not a terrible place, but there has been it's whilst there's been, as you can see, there's been investment in the Nuneaton, which doesn't seem to have done it much help at all, really, in terms of its reputation. But Bedworth has not had as much investment and renovation. The town centre had a bit of a transformation a few years ago, but they got this giant Tesco now. I mean, it's just Tesco has just eaten up the whole of the town centre. It's a giant building that casts a shadow over everywhere else, and it's become a bit of a commuter town as well. So you've got that, which I think rugby is almost a bit like that,
yes,
but you've got quite a lot of people who probably just are not shopping in the Bedworth town centre. But you've got people living in the sort of the conurbation there, and then commuting to other places. In terms of, so I think when you look at that, that video I posted on Facebook, this turd towns. I think what's really highlighted is just the lack of investment, the lack of the lack of opportunities in there. But I'd say they've got a very large church there, which is where I attended. And you wouldn't think, but it was like the center of an international organization, the AOG, and they had, you had people coming from all over the world, from US, from Australia, from parts of Europe, just to come live in Bedworth and work for this international ministry that was there at the time. Which I found was quite interesting, because that was my being a young lad from this small town that's nowhere nobody's heard of, being exposed to meeting people like that from across the world. Did feel kind of special. We used to joke growing up, Bedworth was a centre of the universe, and now though I look at it and I think, I wouldn't go back. I think I'm glad not to be living there anymore, if I'm honest.
Just for the benefit of viewers, actually in the Turd Town video, rugby came in fourth. Just to give everything context.
Yeah, just in case anybody from rugby is starting to feel a bit,
I know,
special.
Superior. Going back to your time in Bedworth, and quite a few things that have come out there, Wes, I'd like to touch on. But what were what was the young Moskal Fitzpatrick's early memories and happy memories about growing up in Bedworth?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, to enjoy. That's a really hard one, actually. Just goes to show I put a lot of that behind me. I think probably like more like anybody as a child before the advent of mobile phones. Which was just getting on your bike and going out and cycling around, and I would cycle to Nuneaton. I'd cycle up to, I think at one point, you're central between Nuneaton and Coventry. So you sort of like go all the way to Coventry, get on a bus and go to Coventry, and get a bus, go to Nuneaton. One, fond memories I have is so my gran took me to Leicester a couple of times on the bus, and that was like just this amazing adventure. Kind of like felt like I was going to traveling the country. Going to Leicester on a bus. But now you can, it's quite it's not far at all really, and it's not a long drive. But she used to take me to Leicester and go to this sort of toy shop, and she'd get me a toy and bring me back. I think that's what I remember really, is like, just the freedom of just like hanging around.
Fairly carefree.
Nobody knew where you were. I suppose that was it really. It was just kind of, those are my childhood memories. On the bike, always on a bike, riding around.
And would you say on the whole, happy memories, Wes?
Well, that's childhood for me is filled with mixed memories.
Mixed memories, yeah.
There's a lot of happiness. There's a lot of things that I suppose I've even forgotten now or put away. My mother was so she's sort of diagnosed now with schizoaffective disorder. She was previously diagnosed with bipolar, manic depression, that kind of thing. So when I was sort of 10, 11, she had went through a divorce with a second husband. Very, very, a very, very messy, nasty divorce. She had been, she was dealing with mental health problems, so she'd been in and out of the hospital and the clinics for years, and through my teenage years. So it was a very, especially through my teens, it was a very difficult time.
I imagine. Yeah. That sounds very difficult, Wes. And were you almost acting as a carer at times for Mum?
Gosh, no. I was terrible. I was a terrible teenager to my mother. Going through all that, but it was like we were at each other, because we became poorer. We went from being like middle class to poor. My mother had struggled very much to deal with it, and was sort of fighting the court system to try and keep her house and keep what do you call it, ownership, I don't say ownership of the kids, what do you call it,
Custody.
the custody, yes, the word I was after. So she became very, at times she was very bitter and angry, and she spoke very very poorly of her ex-husband. And then he had like Saturdays as his custody. He'd come pick us up, take us over to his new house, and it was like everything was great over there. So you kind of got this image of like, this nice place that he would be, and then you go back to home where it was just disarray. She was struggling mentally, angry, bitter, just it was quite a contrast. Now, if I look back now, I realize, of course, he had it all good because he'd left. He'd taken all the money from their joint account, left her with nothing, and bought himself a new house and got himself a girlfriend and all set up and everything. So, of course, it all looked great on his side of the fence. But back then you're sort of looking at. I was looking at mother and sort of saying, well, you know, I think when you project. I think you have to be very careful if you're in this situation. If you have children, you have to be very careful how you speak about other people in front of your children, because you might think you have these are your little squaddies who are going to be on your side. But what can actually happen is it can backfire. And that anger and bitterness can actually just be directed straight back at you.
Yes.
Because you're sort of sowing a seed of some kind. And I think that's what happened is it backfired for my mother. Because I saw her as just being being a teenager as well. It's just everything's awkward. So you just see her as I just saw her as a massive chaotic agent in my life, and not and just very much began to resent her and hate her. So I was just.
You said mum had become angry and bitter, Wes, but I would expect there might be feelings that you were experiencing as well, anger and bitterness too, perhaps.
Well, it was a perfect storm of rage and just everything. It was a kettle, and it was constantly boiling over at home, and that's the reason why I wanted to get out of home.
That was my next question. I was going to say, I would imagine that picking up on what you said earlier, that you were just desperate to actually get away, and I can imagine that was very much the drive for you to actually want to get away.
Yeah.
And you mentioned then going off to university, Wes. Where did you go to university?
So it was De Montfort in Leicester.
So not too far away, but perhaps far enough.
Far enough away.
Yes,
For me, it was. I think for someone from Bedworth, like me, it was a world away. It was like one of the universities I applied for, and I can't remember the other two that I applied for, but I kind of I think I like the look of it, and I like the brochures and everything. I went and studied like management science with computing, and then that changed, and then we had the option of switching that, so it was going to be a major in management science, but I decided I want to do a bit more computing, so it then became management science and computing. Slight subtle difference. I
often think of university as not only being an academic experience, but also it's about social development as well, and finding your feet in the world. Would you say that was that experience for you?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I became a Christian at 17. I started going to church in Bedworth, and it was actually I was working as a school assistant at the time. And I wasn't intent on going to university. It was the guy who I was working under at that time, under apprenticeship, who was a teacher, of course. He was a Christian, and he encouraged me to go to university, and I wouldn't have gone without his encouragement. So I actually went to university a year later. I didn't go when I was 18. I went when I was 19. But just because he had encouraged me to do it. Um, and I'd say I had the cultural transformation from becoming a Christian and being exposed to the world of Christendom, as it were.
Yeah.
But then, yes, the other cultural transformation of going to university then as a Christian.
You're exposed to lots of worldly ideas as
Well, yeah, and so you're figuring things out, and your view of the world is, already it was like my view of my world had expanded, but then you're finding there's an even bigger world beyond that that's expanding when you go to university.
Absolutely, Wes. And taking a step back a couple of years, you said you became a Christian at 17.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So, as I say, I was working in the school, and I was working for yes, I was just an IT assistant. So, as I mentioned, my reporting line manager was the head of IT, a guy called Peter Wrigley. He was a great guy, and he I don't want to say that he took on a fatherly role, but he certainly took on a mentor role with me, and it had a lot of input into, and like I say, pushed me towards university. So pushed me towards, looking beyond my, looking forward to my career and what I was going to do next. Because I probably would have just been stuck at that, and then, I wouldn't have gone much further than that. I probably would have been more interested in. I would have been doing something with the church and doing missions and things like that. But then there was another guy there was a course called Investors in People, and the school was heavily invested in that. And some people might know of this, but they send you off for a weekend with to go and get some. I don't want to describe it as self-help because it's a bit more than that. It's a bit more like leadership and people skills, but it is very much. There's a lot of applicable things there on how to improve yourself and how to open your mind to ideas and I remember. So I went I went in a group, and I was with a group of teachers, and one of those teachers, he was a Christian. He attended the Bedworth Christian Centre, as it was at the time. A guy called Matt McGlade, and he, we'd sort of be sitting at the bar together in the evenings, and he'd say, a lot of this teaching is very much like what my church teaches, and I was sucking it up at the time. I was just eating it up because all of this was like this amazing kind of new learning experience I was getting, how to change your change your view of the world. It's like the glass half full, half empty. And a lot of people probably have heard of a lot of these ideas, and it's kind of very cliche. But for me, I'd never been exposed to them. So for me, it was like, so when he said like, "Well, my church teaches stuff like this," which wasn't a lie, but I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll have some more of that." So he invited me along, but I don't think he realised I was going to come. And I turned up on a Sunday evening. I remember went through the door and introduced myself to the greeter, and she's like, "Oh, have you been before?" No, and do you know anybody here? I said, "Yeah, I know Matt McGlade. Is he here?" And he was at home, and I believe he was actually at the time praying for me. He was at home anyway. They called him. They said, "Matt, there's a guy here. He's come to the church. You better come. You better come up to the service." So he didn't attend the Sunday evenings, but for the next 6 months, he came on the Sunday evenings to sit with me as I came onto the church. And I would say I go into the church, and it was just nothing like anything I expected. Everybody was like dressed very normally. In fact, all these people look kind of, more clued up than me, and more fashionable than me, and and so on. And everybody was like, nobody was like. My experience of church has been a very solemn place, very quiet, very solemn. through
Yeah.
things I'd been to,
Yeah.
and they were just like all kind of just, it was noisy, it was joyous, it was people were happy, people were talking. But I was going along and I thought, well, you know what, these people, they're all very middle class, and none of them understand what real life is like. They don't know what it's like to have problems in life. They don't know, how they haven't gone through what I've gone through. So of course they're happy. Of course they can, of course they don't know what it's like to have difficulties and to have trouble. But of course, as I continue to attend the church, you hear people give testimonies, you hear people talk about struggles. You see, there was families, and there were some families there that had disabled children they were dealing with and everything. And as you start to get to know people, you realize, they actually do all have kind of difficult backgrounds. People who are dealing with divorce, or dealing with people in prison, dealing with mental health and so on. But there was something different about them. And that difference was, for some reason, it did not get them down, and some reason they could overcome it. And I couldn't, and I didn't know what I was. But
so I guess you were this perhaps in the in the difficulties that you were having at home, that this was some calm, and you were looking at these people and thinking, gosh, I'd like some of that.
Well, I was looking at them and I was thinking, there is something different about these people. And of course, I just wanted to keep going because, it was a respite for the rest of the week. It was just that I actually started looking forward to the Sunday.
Yeah.
It was just getting into a different place, away from everything else. So I got to the point where I started to believe. And it was for a very short period of time, but there was a period of time where I held this belief, which was like, maybe God exists for these people, but He doesn't exist for me. And it was almost more depressing. It was like, gosh, these guys have a God, I don't. And you know how it's kind of interesting. It's like a postmodern thought where, your truth, my truth. You can have a God, I don't have God, And so it was almost like a sadness. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to have what these guys have. I'm just not in the same sphere.
And how did you reconcile that, Wes?
And how I reconciled that? Well, I pursued it. I started reading the Bible. And it's like, well, hey, I don't believe this, but at least I can take something from it. At least I can maybe get something from it. So I started reading the Bible and everything, and I believe it was a few months. And I don't recall details, but I do remember I was in my bedroom and I was reading John's Gospel. I read the verse where Jesus said, do not fear, do not fear this world, for I have overcome the world, and I am with you till the end of the age. And it was like the bubble popped right there and then. It was a realization. It was like, Jesus is real right there. And I said, I get it now. Jesus, I give my life to you. You take control, because I cannot. I've got no chance here. I'm sick of doing this myself, and I'm sick of this living this life. And you take it. You take it. It's all yours. And I remember, saying to my friend Matt at the time, I was like, I think I went to church. It might have been the next evening. I was like, become a Christian. He's like, oh, really? It's like, yeah, I became a Christian last night. And it just, that was it. That was the defining moment where, and I would say, when you become a Christian in that sense, in that way, and everybody might have a different experience, but you don't change automatically. You don't suddenly become a better person. You don't, but it's a little seed has been planted, and it just, and it's that point where it starts to sprout. It's that point where the change starts to come, because you've welcomed Jesus in, and at that point, that's where He had a lot of things to sort out with me. He had a lot of problems to iron out.
And as he began to iron things out, Wes, when you then looked at your life, did that change your perspective on aspects of your life? Then,
Mm, well, that's an interesting question because, well, as I say, immediately your perspective doesn't really change. Apart from it's like you've won a lottery ticket. And I remember actually, I embraced this so much. I went from Jesus is just this concept or this figure
yeah,
to Jesus is real. And I believed it, real, 100%. I had felt it.
yeah,
That I'd won the lottery, but I was always, I've always been like an evangelist at heart. So for me, it's always been about, hey, guess what I've just found, right?
yeah,
And I remember I went to a lot of my atheist friends at the time,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
just tell them I've become a Christian. I found Jesus, he's real, and you guys need to become Christians too.
How did they respond to
Yeah,
that?
that did not go down well. Yeah.
And did you lose friends along the way?
I don't want to say I've lost friends because I always maintained a friendship with
Yes,
people,
yeah.
but those people, like they were, some people stopped talking to me.
Yeah.
But I've over the years I've had Christians stop talking to me. So
Yes, yeah.
it's just kind of like, but for me it's always a case of like I don't hold grudges.
Yeah.
I intentionally don't hold grudges because I understand in most cases where people people have their reasons for what they do.
Yeah.
And in some cases, over the years, I've offended many people. I offended them before I became a Christian. I offended them after I became a Christian as well. And so I understand why. And I understand if somebody stops talking to me, I understand why they stop talking to me.
Yeah.
So I always keep the door open.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say yes, there are a lot of people who just stopped talking to me, and some who come back. Some come back later, and they do talk to me after many years.
And if somebody came to you and said, "What are the best things about being a Christian?" How would you sell it to them?
What's the best things about being a Christian?
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to that. It's the power to overcome whatever faces you in life.
Yep.
And I think as a Christian now, I've been a Christian for 20 odd years. So in some ways, some of that freshness is gone, and in some ways, it's become very normal for me now, like it has for many people as a Christian. But what I think Christians don't realize is you do not realize how hard life is outside of Christ.
Yeah.
And how hard it is for people who are struggling through life and they do not have that North Star. They do not have that guiding spirit that is telling them, you know what, you'll get through this.
Yes.
You know what, this is going to end, and there's going to be something glorious coming.
Yeah.
And that is a depressing reality for a lot of people. And I would say having that is like there is nothing in this life, in this world, that is going to overcome you. And that's probably what the best thing is about being a Christian is knowing that truth.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you were giving advice to your younger self, would that be very much what you might be saying?
Oh my gosh, if I was to to go back and meet my younger self, I'd probably give him a good slap around the head. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much I know now. There's so much we know now that our younger selves didn't have access to that knowledge. Equally, I look at my younger self and I think, man, you left a lot of work for me to do, because I was quite lazy. I think I was always quite lazy, and if I look back, there's the I would say if I split my life up into three parts, there's the young man Wesley, there's the old man Wesley, and there's the middle-aged Wesley here, right? And the young man Wesley left a lot of things for me to do, and he because I had this perspective of like, oh, well, in the future, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that and everything. Right. And I think a lot of young people might think that way as well. They're like, yeah, I'm not worried about the future.
Living for today.
And it was living for today. And I think there's a lot of things that he could have done to make my life easier.
Yes. Yeah.
So now I'm like thinking about old man Wesley. And it's like, right, I need to honor that old man I'm going to become and make sure I do the things I need to do now. But I've also got to kind of catch up and do the things that this lazy guy didn't do, And that's what I would say to young people now. I think there's so many young people who are missing opportunities because they're not seizing those opportunities. And if you're young and you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, at some point in the future, I envision I want to do this. But either you don't know how to get there, or you're just thinking like, well, I'll worry about that later. I've got all the time in the world. Well, you haven't. The clock's ticking.
Yes.
So I'd say if it's a case of fear, if you don't know what to do, just start asking people. Ask older people around you. Ask them, well, what can I do to become this, to do this, to get to this point I need to get to when I'm 40 years old? What do I need to do, right? If it's a case of just waiting until later, well, I would say, at some point, tomorrow's going to come. It's going to catch you, and before you know it, you'll be living that life and wondering like where all the time went.
And picking up on that, Wes, what are your hopes and aspirations for old man Wesley?
What are my hopes and aspirations? It's a case of well, it's really interesting because I thought I had some ideas locked in, but now I feel like it's opened again, know?
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit kind of like, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Well, the stuff that I do now, the technology that I work on, all right, I'm an IT consultant, I work in the IT field, all right, didn't exist when I was at university, it didn't exist 20 years ago.
No.
So it's like, well, what doesn't exist in 20 years that I might end up working on? I don't know. But perhaps I have some ideas about, I certainly have some ideas about where I want to end up. I don't see, anything like an early retirement in the cards. If anything, I think I would probably look at doing something, semi-retired but still working. I think that's the key thing. If we speak more sort of the immediate future, I'm doing a master's right now. Which takes a lot of energy from me. So I would like to get the master's completed. Hopefully that might open up some new avenues and doorways for me.
Indulge me on this one, Wes. If I was to pick you up and put you on a desert island, and you'll see where I'm going with this in a moment. You can take a luxury item, and you can take the Bible, but also take some other books as well. But also, I want you to be able to take some music too. What would you choose?
Music. Oh my gosh. Well, I find the kind of music that I like to listen to at the moment is, aside from sort of praise and worship music, I like to listen to instrumental film scores, a little bit of sort of romantic Italian opera, that type of thing. That's the kind of music I take because I think it's quite inspiring. I like inspiring film scores, build up, credential, those and stuff. That would probably inspire me to come up with ideas of how to get off the island.
I see. Yes.
Presuming, I don't know, that's funny because when you say put me on an island, the picture in my head is like a desert island where it's like, and it would be like, well, the worst thing I can do is I don't relax very easily. No. Well, my wife would probably say something different about that. Donna would say I have no problem relaxing, but I do. I'm always kind of trying to cook up something. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think my ideal holiday is always like going hiking, going and seeing things.
Yeah.
Not whereas other people, it's like, oh, I just want to sit on the beach, and that's boring to me. So yeah, I'd probably be like working out how can I get off the
How
island.
can I get off the island? And in terms of books on top of the Bible, what
Books?
What would you take?
Oh gosh, well I listen to audiobooks now.
Yeah.
I like to listen to some biographies.
Mhm.
I really like reading graphic novels.
Yeah.
So I'd probably take some graphic novels with me.
Yeah.
But I like crime fiction, uh, and I'd say that that's kind of like the stuff that I like listening to.
I'm going to pin you
reading.
down for your luxury item now, Wes.
Luxury item for the desert island.
Yeah.
Um, probably going to be like a multi-tool or something like that.
Yeah. I think that'd be very useful, actually.
Yeah.
And of course, people on desert islands tend to grow beards. Now, one of the most striking things about you, Wes, is obviously your beard. Tell us a bit the history of your beard. Yes.
Well, I started growing it I'd say about 12 years ago, 11 to 12 years ago now. I always had like a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. I used to just let it grow, but trim it, keep it trim. But I felt one day I was just I'd always looked at other men with beards, and there was something a bit more manly. I have a bit of a round face as well, so it helps to have a beard to sort of kind of make it a bit more narrower. So I one time I just decided I'll stop shaving. I'll just let it grow.
It's a bit like having a hobby, isn't it? Keeping a beard, Wes, in some ways.
Well, this is the thing Donna would joke with me about how I take longer in the bathroom than her. When I started growing my beard, because what I didn't understand at the time, and if you've not grown a beard before, right? What men who try to grow beards, they get to a phase where it starts to get really itchy, right? And that's the point which a lot of men just then, they shave it off, right? And that's what I would do. It's like, well, I don't know how these guys can maintain these big, beautiful beards, when it's so itchy. Well, then I learned, I did a bit of research. And I learned, right, you got to get like your beard oils, and there's like, there's a whole load of, and now, because it's quite popular now, although I'd say I was before the trend,
you were one of the pioneers
but there was, so at the time it's very hard to find products. Now you can go to Tesco and you can find beard products. They didn't exist when I started growing my beard. So you have to go online on the internet. But you go online, there's these websites which are devoted to manliness, and they tell you how you need beard oils and you get your mustache wax and everything. And so in the morning, then you're prepping, you're doing your beard oils, and you're doing all your routine. It takes a little while, but after a while, it just becomes normal. And that's what I would say. So if you want to grow a beard, get yourself some beard oil, beard balm, and make sure you just put that in every day, and that will deal with the itchiness. And the itchiness comes because your skin is no longer absorbing the sunlight, so you'll get kind of flakiness and everything as well. So that helps with all of that as well. The oil keeps your skin hydrated.
And there's a top tip for viewers.
There you go.
Wes, I also understand that you, and bearing in mind that Donna leaves you for months at a time to go back to Canada, but you appeared beardless, didn't you? On a call over FaceTime, but were you reprimanded for being beardless?
Yeah. I have to say, I had this idea during the summer. I thought, I'll just have a shave and just just to kind of for a change. And I'd have to say, I almost immediately regretted it, to be honest. I think I kept the mustache, and when Donna saw it on the I can't remember what we used. WhatsApp. We're on WhatsApp.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
She saw it on WhatsApp. She wasn't happy. And so yeah, I just thought I'd get back to growing it again as soon as possible.
And we've alluded to Donna quite a lot throughout our chat, Wes. Tell us about Donna and how you guys met.
Wow, that's a story. So when I was at university, I had the opportunity as a year's industrial placement to go and work for there was a lot of options companies to work for, and what there was some options in Europe as well. So Switzerland would take some of our student cohort, and I remember just applying for this one for Syngenta. Did the interview, thought not much of it, and then I got offered the role, and that was to go to Dealsdorf in Zurich. So off I went to Switzerland. Probably my second time on an airplane. So second time out of the country. I've been to Germany year before that, I think. No, it wasn't the second time. It was my second time on an airplane, but I had been on a coach. So I'd been over to Europe a few times on a coach. But yeah, it's my second time on an airplane. Fly over to Switzerland, arrive in the middle of it's so Dealsdorf is this little town, sort of half an hour from north of Zurich, and it was very much countryside. Not much happening back then. Didn't have mobile phones. Didn't have Wi-Fi. So just get there, and all I've got is my CD player. Some books I brought, and it was a very lonely experience there. I was living in this castle on top of this hill for a brief period. And I remember one of the first things I'd do is I went and bought a little stereo system from a shop in Zurich so I could listen to music. You didn't have internet back then. There was no internet, right? So mobile phones were just kind of coming out, and it was 2G, I think, and very expensive as well for data, but you pretty much had the Snake game and you could text. But your internet was the office, right? So if I, and then what you do is I maybe download some TV shows or movies and stick those onto my laptop so I could watch them at home. Anyway, I went to a church in Zurich. I found a church, the International Protestant Church of Zurich, which was like a Presbyterian style church. I had become a Christian as a Pentecostal. I'd been a Christian at that point for about 4 or 5 years. So although I'd been to university, Christian Union, and met lots of different Christians, different backgrounds, it was still very different for me. As a Pentecostal, for me, it was like church is about getting excited and jumping up and down and everything. And going to a Presbyterian church, it was very much, a very formal occasion. But it was, the thing is, it was led by an American priest, and it was in English. There were more charismatic churches in Zurich, but they were in Swiss, German, or there was one where you had an earpiece and you could listen in English, but I just didn't feel like it. I just thought, I don't want to. I just want to go listen to it. I'd just rather be amongst the English speakers. That's where I met Donna, and there was like a young adults group or whatever that we were all sort of part of, or a bit working professionals, 20s and 30s, that got together, and then we'd go out and I sort of got together a bit of a posse on a Sunday evening after the service. Let's go out on a Sunday evening, go have coffee and all sit together. And I remember I used to sort of call Donna because she'd be at home. I'd be like, come on out, come on out. And she never wanted to come out, but convinced her to come out a few times. And we immediately sort of got each other's humor and kind of connected as friends. And it was sort of, it evolved from there because we just started hanging out together, and it was more like, just, let's meet up in the week and everything, while the others weren't around. and yeah, and so from there, so she was there as she was a dental hygienist.
Mm-hmm.
So she had already been to, I think, I don't know if it was university, but it was like she trained up and done dental hygiene, and basically went, and a lot of these Canadians came over as au pairs or dental hygienists that would come over to Switzerland, to Zurich, to work. So she was working as a dental hygienist, and it went from there basically. It became more than friendship.
Yes. Yeah.
And by the end of it, we were dating basically. Well, I had to come back to England to do my finish my degree, and then we sort of kept dating long distance, and then she had been invited over to London to do a like an internship research in London.
Yep.
And she'd always wanted to do that as well. So it's kind of worked out. So then she came down to London, and I was up here in Warwickshire. I was working in Birmingham at the time. So I'd drive down to London, see her at the weekends or whatever. And then, eventually, we'd been on a few holidays together and so on. And I proposed eventually. And we then got married in Maui on a beach. Moved to Ealing in London, and then to Watford, and then spent a period.
You're gradually inching your way up the M1, Wes.
Well, before that we went down to I had a contract in New York, and we lived there for 9 months, almost a year. And then came back to the UK and lived on the south coast, and then moved up to Hertfordshire, and then back up to Rugby.
And what was it that brought you guys to Rugby?
I think it was like most people up here in Rugby, refugees from the south, which is to buy property. It's too expensive. So that was primary goal.
Yeah, and I think you're right. A lot of refugees, as you call them, do end up in Rugby. I know plenty of people who've actually just put especially from the southeast, have put a pin in the map, somewhere that looks commutable in and out of London.
Yes.
and Rugby seems to come up trumps every time. And being in Rugby, then obviously being part of the church family here. Wes, when did you first start coming to New Life?
Well, we bought our property. I think it was 2021. And I think at the time it was just coming out of lockdown, but everything was still in lockdown.
Yeah.
And the church, so what we started doing, so we would just on a Sunday morning, we would just go to YouTube and look at local churches, and basically watch the local churches online. And
you're doing some window shopping.
Yeah. And we were kind of, our idea was we were going to do that, and then we were going to either pick one or maybe go around and attend a few. But what I found was we were sort of Sunday morning, we'd get to Sunday morning, it'd be oh, what church shall we watch? Because we just go and look to see which one next. And we ended up, New Life ended up being our default. It was oh, we can't find a church, we'll just put New Life on. Right? And then we ended up just start watching New Life, and I think in the end we had there's a couple of churches. It was New Life and another one that we were seriously considering. As becoming our main church. But there was something about New Life felt like where it was drawn, So we did say one day, and I think it was 2022 then, January maybe. And we sort of said, well, we're going to have to go along now physically. It opened back up and people were going in. And I think for a few weeks we were watching it still online, but it was well, we're going to have to go along, one of these mornings now. So it's quite funny because you feel quite familiar with the church for the last 6 months of watching it. but nobody knows who you are.
No, exactly. I know.
So, so then we, and then from there, we just,
Yeah.
we didn't go into any other church. It was like, right, this is the one, and
Yeah.
stick with it.
And for the benefit of the church family here, Wes, what are some things that people might not know about you that we've not had a chance to cover yet? And anything extraordinary or surprising that people might think, goodness, I wouldn't have believed that of Wes.
Well, I was wondering like how far you would, how far you were going to dig, really. Well, it depends, really. It depends what, it depends kind of like what.
We're not looking for scandal or getting you excommunicated.
No,
Wes,
no scandals.
So
Yeah. Well, perhaps just to explain what I do.
that would be great. Yeah.
I've been an IT consultant now for almost 2 decades. So I mainly involved in IT asset management, which is your all your IT equipment and everything, and keeping inventory and discovering that, and configuration management. And there's various IT tools. It's mainly for enterprise systems, big companies. I've worked around the world. I've worked in US and Canada, all across Europe. Been as far as sort of Singapore, doing IT training and consulting for investment banks, oil companies, retail, all the big Fortune 500 types of companies. As part of that, I've done project management. I've managed teams across the globe as well. And I've worked extensively in the Middle East. So I've been to Egypt. I've been in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, various places like that. There's still a few places I'd like to visit and see, but I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
So Donna is Canadian, in case that was not clear as well. So she's in Canada at the moment, but she's got sort of an international connection there as well.
Yeah.
And I always desired to travel, But these days I feel like I got a lot of that travel bug out of me, and these days I'm quite happy to plant my roots now at home.
Yeah.
But that's probably, so that's professionally what I do. Bit of my background, as a Christian, I think. Perhaps things that people may not know. Many years ago, I used to be part of a missionary organization. Not part of it, but I used to volunteer with it, Flamethrowers, which was led by a guy called Mark Ritchie, as evangelist. And so we go on youth camps, put on youth half-term youth clubs and things for kids in different areas. That was up in Scotland, near Edinburgh, Bradford, and various other places. That was before I went to university as well. And I'd also done some missions abroad as well, in Czech Republic and Austria, and some places like that as well. What else? What else is there?
Well, I don't think you've actually touched on any hobbies yet, Wes.
Hobbies.
If you can find time to do one, but
if I can find time, hobbies. Yeah. So these days I don't have time to do hobbies. But one of the things I really used to love doing, which I haven't done for a couple of years, was I used to like to go geocaching. So for those who don't,
yes, I was going to say I don't know anything about it, so I hope you're going to do it like this.
People are, never used to be aware of this. This is another thing, I started doing it 15 years ago. I think it's my brother-in-law introduced me to it. And essentially back then, again, you didn't have mobile phones didn't have GPS in them, so you had to buy a GPS, and you had to plug in coordinates. So for those who don't know, it's people are very aware of it now, but it wasn't back then. People were like, what is that?
Yeah.
So essentially, the goal is to people essentially hiding a cache in somewhere in the woods somewhere, but they can be hidden anywhere really, and there's probably one at least 200 or 300 meters from us now somewhere. So you put the coordinates on a website. And what you could do is you plug those coordinates into your GPS and you would go hunt it down. And it's going to be kind of hidden. So if it's hidden in the woods, you might be looking for a Tupperware box, that is hidden under a log or something like that, off the beaten track. And inside it has a logbook and sometimes what you call tradables, which was toys and trinkets. With the idea that you place one in, take one out. Unfortunately, a lot of people take out and put something in. And you write in the logbook, and then you log that online. And it's a fun little hobby. A lot more people have gotten into it now. But it takes. What I found is when you go on holiday, we used to just plot like a load of geocaches, right? And it just takes you to places that you wouldn't normally see as a tourist. So I remember getting lost on Mount Torque in Southern Ireland, but it's taken us to see some really incredible places, hidden places that you wouldn't know exist. So if you're a fan of hiking, walking, that kind of thing, gives you a bit of for me, being a techie, it was like a bit of a
Gosh, it sounds fantastic.
fun orientation. Now you can do it with your phone because your phones have GPS, so people use their phones. But before that, we had GPS.
But a techie who likes to travel as well, so ideal, I guess. Wes, really.
Yeah, it's very much So if you're not sort of into fitness and everything, but you're techie, then it gives you a bit of a goal to work towards. Game theory gives you that. It's being able to sign a logbook and then log it online and log how many you've done.
And obviously, your techie skills have been integral in setting this up. This
Wow.
Life Explored.
I wouldn't say my technical skills have been used here. I would definitely put that down to Nathan and the team doing that.
But in terms of how things have gone with Life Explored, Wes, how would you? What's your assessment of it? You must be very proud with how things have developed.
I think what we've got here is really amazing. So there's a couple in the church, Jeff and Bernie, who helped do helped with the design of the room here in the studio, which has been fantastic. The way it looks.
Yes.
We've got this equipment here, the cameras and everything, to give it that professional feel. So I think it's amazing what everybody's done so far. I'm just here. I'm just hosting it. I'm just kind of and doing a little bit of steering. But what I am hoping and looking forward to is that we can try to get more episodes out. So that's the tricky part because it's not just the filming. It's then got the editing and all that kind of stuff that needs to take place. So we're trying to build we're building our team, but also this is why you're interviewing me today, because we're bringing you on to do a bit of extra hosting. For me, then I want to maybe try to help with the production behind the scenes, but also we would really like to sort of do a few more topical episodes, and so not just interviews. We could just we want to maybe do some reaction videos and things like that. So we've got quite a few ideas, but we're still trying to build the team out here at the moment.
Wes, so I'm going to sort of draw to a close now, but a typical sort of interview type question, slight spin on it really. If there was one thing you wish I'd asked you but haven't, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, to get to have somebody give me these questions, Yeah.
Mm.
One thing I wish you'd asked me, but you didn't. Oh my goodness. Well, there's a lot of things you could have asked me. Whether I wish you'd asked them or not. You could have asked me, let's say, you could have asked me about my cats, maybe. Or you could have asked me a bit more about my course. I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm a cat owner as well, Les.
Yeah.
So let's finish on cats.
Yeah.
Tell me about the cats.
Cats. So we've got 2 cats we adopted last year.
Mm-hmm.
Maple and Hazel.
But I think I'd probably correct you there. You don't really adopt cats, do you? They kind of have to adopt you, don't they? Really?
We hold them hostage. I think.
Yes. That's probably more like it.
We've got them hostage.
Yeah.
So we've decided to keep them as house cats. So we don't let them go out. So we actually, it's interesting you say that, because we had a cat before that did adopt us. That wasn't ours, and that was at the place that we were living in, Baldock, which was before we came here. And her name was, her owners had called her Squeak. We called her Sneak. We called her Sneak because she'd sneak into our house, and then find a chair to lay on and lay on a chair. And she was very lovely little cat. But they moved away and they took Sneak with them, so we missed her. But she had sort of. Yeah, our house was her second home. She'd sort of decided, and I'd take her back. So I'd go, got your cat here, bringing it back to them, and they would go, oh thanks, we'll keep her in. And half an hour later, back at our door. So she was just like, so we would just let her in and let her, spend time with us, and we got a few cat treats as well, which probably wasn't a good idea, but we got some of those dreamiest treats to give her as well and everything. So she probably made a home with us, but yeah, they moved away. So sadly we lost her, to her owners. So we got these 2 cats, Maple and Hazel. They were adopted from the what is it, the RSPC.
Yes. Okay.
RSPCA.
Yes.
So they were like 6 months old already when we got them.
Yeah.
And they were, I think what happened is that their mother, so the woman who had this cat, the mother, had just dropped them off at the shelter, saying like, I can't look after them, and they've been sort of, so yeah, they kind of been abandoned. So one is Maple is a tuxedo cat. Hazel is a black cat, but it's more more like a brown coat. But
yes,
yes, and they have 2 very different personalities. And but they're quite. Well, when Donna was here, she. They definitely, one had leached onto, attached to Donna. That was her favorite person. The other one, Hazel, she was kind of like just a, her own cat, really. But I think, Donna's going back to Canada, have been away for the last 6 months. Is that they've both sort of now follow me from room to room, and. One likes to jump on my chest, likes to have hugs, and then do a bit of and grooms and licks my hands, The other one doesn't really like being picked up, but does like having a bit of bit of affection as well, and they're not trouble, but like Maple is definitely a very vocal cat, and constantly meowing. So when I sit down my desk to start work, and then it's like the afternoon, and she just meow, 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 meow. She just wants, and it's like I think she just wants to play.
And have they made appearances on Teams meetings?
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah, jump up on the desk. They do appear. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful note to end on, Wes. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege interviewing you.
Thank you,
very much
David.
for your time.
Thank you, David. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us once again and listening to that podcast episode. We hope you enjoyed the content. And if you haven't already subscribed, whichever platform you're listening on or watching from, and we'll catch you again for the next episode of Life Explored.